I keep wondering, when did coffee become such a thing and why? I don't understand it. I love the smell of coffee, but I'm not a coffee drinker. And I know a lot of people go, what? How can you not drink coffee? I love the smell. I unfortunately I'm not particularly fond of the taste. Now, what's happened over the last few years is that because coffee's become such a thing, the growers have thought, well, hang on a second, we have all of these young people who are like coffee aficionados and they want to grow their own, because becoming a home grower, regardless of what it is that you're growing, has become like a really big thing. So they brought out something like this, which you can get all over the country in South Africa and probably around the rest of the world as well. The thing is that coffee needs specific conditions to be able to actually grow. So popping this into a pot plant in your house, well, I don't know how long it's going to take before you're actually able to say, I grew my own coffee. Come and have a cha. I don't know. That's why I've come to Beaver Creek down in KwaZulu-Natal to find out a little bit more about it from somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Right, Dylan, Director of Growth. That sounds like quite a good job title.
Yeah, so it's a family business, but so a lot of roles overlap, but I'm really involved in developing the business and also responsible for a lot of the farming side of it.
Okay, now when it comes to growing coffee, so often we find people who are buying their own little coffee plant wherever they are in the country. How difficult is it to actually grow the plant to fruition in that it will actually produce berries that you can use yourself?
If you got one tree, it's probably okay. A lot of people grow it at home in pots. You want quite a large pot, and probably one of the most difficult things is just watering it quite regularly. Just keeping up with that, because it is a subtropical plant. It does enjoy a fair amount of water.
Okay, now when you say subtropical, obviously, I mean, we're here in Natal, okay, and you think about where coffee is grown worldwide. It's in hot areas, it's in, like, really, as you said, the tropics. How well are these plants going to fare in Johannesburg?
South Africa is blessed with a lot of area that is highly suitable for coffee. We've recently done a suitability map, and we have shown quite high levels of suitability. Actually, the scientists, the climatologists that I've been working with, you always would say to me, coffee can grow anywhere. So in a pot plant, in your garden, or in your stoep in Joburg, you probably could look after it. But in terms of commercial, you would need to be in those areas that are more suitable for coffee.
If you've only got one plant, how much of a yield are you going to get off of it?
So probably after about 3-4 years, depending on how obviously you look after it, you could probably get about a packet of about 250 grams of coffee.
After 3 or 4 years?
Yes.
So those people who are thinking, oh, I'm going to go and get my little plant like this, which is in the indoor section, and then we're going to take it home, keep it inside, and we're going to make our own coffee within a year, it's going to take a lot longer than that.
Probably, yes.
All right, so the whole process of this, I mean, this is what the actual coffee, what do you call this? Fruit.
So fruit, you call it coffee cherry. Its correct botanical name is actually a drupe. But what we end up drinking is actually the dried roasted seed of the coffee fruit, of the coffee tree. So what you have there is the green berry, which is slightly earlier before harvesting. So what you want to be doing is harvesting the red ripe fruit.
Yeah.
Which looks like that.
Okay. Not when it's dried out like some of the others.
Yes. Not before
like
they dry out.
Yes. This one. Like that. So you've got to get it before it gets to that.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the red ripe fruit.
Yeah.
And then we have quite a few home growers and people, especially during COVID, during lockdown, people found they had coffee trees in their garden and they would process it themselves. So what you would do is you'd take the red ripe fruit, you squeeze it into a bucket, and there are your 2 coffee seeds.
Yeah.
Which it then needs to go through a fermentation process because it has this very sweet, sticky layer on it.
Yes.
So that needs to be broken down. So it's a fermentation process. So simply leaving the coffee in a bucket for a couple of hours or overnight would do the trick. And then once that sticky layer becomes gritty, We then rinse them to wash that layer off, and then we dry them.
And that
Okay.
can take anywhere from a week to 2 weeks.
And then, of course, you start roasting them.
So then there's still another 2 layers called the husk and silver skin. So you have to peel those off, which often becomes what people stop processing coffee because it's quite laborious. So they start you peel those off, and you're left with the green bean, the raw coffee,
Yeah.
and that is what you roast.
I'm trying to, I can see if you take it a little bit too late, then they're dried out
Yeah,
completely.
so those,
and you can't
there you
use
can
that.
see the husk and silver skin.
Yeah,
yes.
okay, so those are all the different bits and pieces there. So basically, I mean, you've got to have a lot of patience and a lot of time on your hands to actually
Yes.
be able to do this. How many, I mean, you say what, a packet from one tree?
Yep.
How many trees do you actually have here?
So we've traditionally had about 14 hectares,
Mhm.
and we roughly have about between 4,000 and 4,500 trees per hectare. So historically, we've had over 65,000 trees here. Now we're in a process of replanting. So we currently have about 10,000 trees, but we're putting in the balance within the next 3 years.
Okay, and how many roasters have you got? Because I mean, surely that also takes a fair amount of time. How long does it take to roast it, and can you do it at home?
Yeah, so roasting, again, on a commercial basis, you need a purpose-built machine.
We have, I think it's 5 roasters now, but one is the main 3 ones we use is a 100-gram sample roaster, which we use to experiment with new roasts, tasting coffees that we've been working with. We have a 5-kilogram roaster for small batches, and then our main roaster is a 15 kg batch roaster. So those are your commercial roasters, but you can roast at home on a pan and oven. The first coffee that was produced here was roasted in my mom's oven, exactly that way. But you can use popcorn machines, pans. There's a myriad of different ways that you can roast them.
So you can roast or toast.
Roast or toast them, yes. and you also want to be careful because there's so much latent heat in the coffee that as it gets to the end of the roast, you need to be able to cool them down. Otherwise, they can keep roasting. So a stainless steel colander and turning the roasted coffee beans is a good way to cool them down.
I mean, if you're a coffee drinker, I think it's just easier to buy the stuff from them, quite frankly.
Sure.